Well, hey, Hannah.
Good morning, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited about the conversation today.
I can tell you're excited based on your hat.
I know, wearing a little swag. I was at the CCFC watch party last night. They were playing Chicago. We were Stock and Grain.
Nice.
Where they have a little pop-up now, so you can go and...
I was going to say, that's like the one-stop shop for merch right now, right?
Yeah, you can get your merch, you can get your tickets, season tickets. They're starting to sell ticket packs, so...
That's awesome.
Yeah, you can get it all there. So I think like people are starting to know about CCFC and see the pro team play. And
which, if people don't know, is Carolina Core Football Club.
There you go.
Right?
Yep.
So our newest addition to the High Point landscape, I guess you could say from an entertainment perspective, Major League Soccer.
I know, right? Division II MLS team. Just exciting to have them. Mm-hmm. The conversation today, I think, is really important because it's like people have heard, I think, some about CCFC, but what we're talking about today is the CCFC Academy, which is actually a separate nonprofit. And it's really about developing younger players for college, for life. I mean, we're talking the two teams that they're running are U13 and U14. So kids under 13, kids under 14. Took me a while in the soccer landscape to figure out all these, like
all the terms,
all the
secret codes,
all the things. And so the academy plays in the MLS Next, and then the pro team is MLS Next Pro. Right. So it's all part of this pathway to develop people and players.
Yeah. I think that's the part that I'm really excited about with this conversation that we got to have today with Leah Hazelwood and Eddie Pope. Mm-hmm. Just because I don't think that we necessarily, I don't have kids. I don't think about how expensive it can be for youth sports. Travel sports especially. And how limiting that can be for really talented players. Mm-hmm. And I know that they're taking a really unique approach with this to make it like a no pay to play for students for youth that are able to try out and to be on that team. So I have today kind of the backing mission of what Carolina Core FC Academy really wants to do. And they are committed to creating a level playing field. I love that pun. Just a good pun. They're committed to creating a level playing field where every child, regardless of their socioeconomic background, can chase their aspirations of a professional soccer career. And I think from our conversation we had today, we see that melds into so much more as far as, like you said, developing great citizens, great community members, increasing even economic advantage to this area with people wanting to come to High Point to potentially experience the beginnings of a soccer career here. Yeah,
well, and I tried to, not be too starstruck by talking with Eddie Pope. So,
right.
I mean, hearing his story and why this is so important to him, and for Leah, just the passion behind it. I think it's really an amazing effort, and I'm excited for people to get to learn more.
Yep, let's listen. Well, hello and welcome to High Point's Voices Discovered. This is so exciting. I think we've mentioned this episode in a lot of other episodes and said more to come on that later. So this is the more to come on the CCFC Academy.
That's right.
Would you both take a moment just to introduce yourself and your role with CCFC and how long you've been with the organization?
Ladies first.
Sure. I'm Leah Hazelwood. I am proud to be a member of the ownership group of CCFC, the MLS Next Pro team, led by none other than our beloved Megan Oglesby. I am also currently the chair of the CCFC Academy Board of Directors that we're going to talk more about later.
Wonderful.
My name is Eddie Pope, and I'm the Chief Sporting Officer for Carolina Core FC.
Awesome. And you've both pretty much been with the organization since the organization started.
Since it was an idea in a theory, and yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
So you just mentioned the MLS Next Pro and the Academy. Can you just briefly, for people who are not deep in soccer world, help us understand all of these differences with MLS Next Pro, Academy, all those things?
Sure.
Well, MLS Next Pro is a professional league. Those teams will feed into MLS Major League Soccer. The Carolina Core FC Academy is the youth portion that feeds into our MLS Next Pro team.
All right.
So it's not super complicated. It sounds complicated. But it's not super
You
complicated.
said it very succinctly. I feel like
Yes.
I would have like over-explained.
Yeah.
I think a question I get quite a lot though is like how does a MLS Next Pro team like ours relate to like a Charlotte FC first team? So correct me if I say anything not in soccer language, but Carolina Core FC is a first team MLS team. We are an MLS Pro team, which is really focused on development of players. And those players, some of them will go on to play for MLS first team. Some of them may go on to play internationally. Some of them that may be where their career, tops out. But it's a development league. It's really focused on player development and giving them the opportunity to continue to hone their skills so that they can be ready for a first team.
So when it comes to the CCFC Academy, I mean, is that a standard practice in the MLS world, or is this something kind of unique in the Carolina Core? How does that work?
Yeah, every MLS team has an academy.
Okay.
And every MLS Next Pro team, as we add more independent teams like ours, will also have an academy. That is mandated throughout the league.
Okay.
What's different about ours, though, is that our CCFC Academy will be fully funded. So that is done correct in a few places around the country where there's an opportunity.
Yeah, most MLS teams are required to have their academy be free. And as Carolina Core FC, which we're new, we're coming in as an independent team, we have the same requirement. And now if you go to MLS Next teams that are not affiliated with Major League Soccer, that is pay to play. And that does create a massive barrier for a lot of players throughout the country. So as Leah was saying, that's where ours is unique. Ours will be completely free for everyone.
So, okay, I think I got this. So the academy plays in MLS Next.
Correct.
The pro team is in Next Pro.
Correct. Hence the name.
And with the Next group, some of those are related to MLS teams and some of them aren't.
That is correct.
And what we're doing that's unique is that we are following the pro model of no pay to play to ensure that everybody who has the ability level can play.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Well said. Yes.
Okay. I think
We can go.
after
I think.
months
I think
around
Joe's got
soccer,
us.
I'm
And
starting
Yeah,
to
you
get
That
did.
was great. Yeah, I feel like that's going to be super helpful.
I did not. I played soccer till like fourth grade, and then that was it. So I'm still learning all of this stuff. But
I think what helps too is put a little marketing plug in. But if you go to the website, there's a really great graphic that kind of helps explain this pathway that children start in local youth soccer organizations. That's why it's so important to us to have such strong relationships with what hotbed we've built here with our youth. And then you've got the elite of the elite youth, right? And they have the opportunity to go play for MLS Next teams, right? And then the elite of that can go on to MLS Next Pro and then MLS and or internationally. So if you see that graphic, it kind of really helps see how there's that pathway that hasn't always existed.
Yeah, and I think the reason we and the league lay out this professional player pathway is to simplify it for everyone because it can get a little bit complicated. But when you see the graphic, you'll see you start when you see them out there running around like little kids and everything, all the way to the top.
So you, speaking of player pathway, like you had a player pathway, Eddie. Yeah. Like you played at the top level of MLS. So you tell us a little about your trajectory and your story and kind of how that brought you back here to help others.
Yeah, I mean, so I grew up in High Point and started playing for what is now called PTFC, but it used to be called High Point Stars. Also played for Fusion, which back then it was called Winston-Salem Twins. And the difference between now and then is that everything was pay to play. We obviously at that time did not have a professional league. So it was mostly you're playing at a younger age to maybe play in college or to maybe one day try to play in the Olympics. And that was it. It was capped off. There are some people who maybe had a parent or grandparent that were European and they had a pathway to be able to go and play in Europe. But that was extremely rare. Yeah. But for myself, that was the path that I took. I just played here, played for High Point Stars, Winston-Salem Twins, Greensboro Buccaneers, all of the local youth clubs. and then kind of worked my way up. Of course, enjoyed playing middle school soccer at Jamestown Middle. I don't know if Jamestown Middle is still there, but and then moved to play in Southwest High School, and played at UNC Chapel College. And then while I was in college, Major League Soccer sprung up. So kind of out of nowhere. So halfway through college, it was, graduate, maybe get a job. Is there a pipe dream of playing in Europe? Possibly. And then all of a sudden there's Major League Soccer. So for all of us college players, especially American college players, finally we have our own league. So then that's the route I took. So it was certainly like this sinuous pathway of trying to become a professional soccer player that was a little bit uncommon. And Major League Soccer has done a great job of really trying to simplify that path. And that is what kids have the opportunity to do now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you kind of went an untrodden path.
Charted your own course.
Right. It didn't exist at the time. And now you're building a pathway.
That's awesome.
We're building a pathway. And back then, a lot of it was probably fortune, luck, things, going the right way, an opportunity here or there. I mean, it certainly was not well laid out. And now I think, again, it's just such a good, clear understanding. Everybody can have a good, clear understanding of how this pathway works. And again, I will beat the dead horse all day long, but it's free to anyone who's good enough to make it. As we know, youth soccer can be outrageously expensive. Especially for
ballpark
the better players.
What do you mean, like a couple $100 outrageously expensive?
I know we wish, don't we? But for a season, it could cost a family just in fees and uniforms and things like that, $2,500, $3,000, and if you add on travel and things like that, you're climbing to $4,000 or $5,000, and obviously that is untenable for most families. That's not even like maybe just the maybe people who are less fortunate can't afford it. I mean, there are a lot of families that cannot afford that. $5,000 for one season, by the way.
So one kid.
Yeah, and one child.
Right.
So if you got two that play, you might be making some tough decisions across the sports.
Have your own kids try out against each other.
Against each other.
You're having cuts in the family.
The best one win, yeah. So, I mean, it's
Wow.
that is a real barrier.
And the higher and higher you get, the more and more expensive it gets, because naturally you need higher level coaching, more experienced coaching. You're traveling further. Like our MLS Next teams will be traveling essentially the eastern southeast part of the United States. So that's quite a lot of travel and things. So again, as you get higher and higher, it gets more and more expensive.
So what does that academy model kind of look like then? I mean, an obvious inequity, it sounds like it's addressing, is just the cost. I mean, that pay to play model. But what are some of the, do you have to try out? What does the schedule look like? What are some of those just logistical components for those who are interested in that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have, so Carolina Core FC Academy, we will have the same scout as the professional team, who goes around and watches games and tries to find talent. We will certainly have tryouts.
How cool is that for a kid?
Really cool.
The same scout that's scouting the pros is scouting at these, U12, U14 games.
Same scout.
That's
same
incredible.
scout with the same sort of standards that we would want to see in a developed player. We try to look for those things in younger players. So of course you won't see everything, but you might see a spark here or a spark there that says, I can kind of envision this individual becoming a professional player at some point. So we'll have, hopefully maybe some ID sessions and things like that. And so and the good thing about it is that it's more than one, right? It's kind of a long process, and that's the benefit of having a scout. It's not sort of this one day and that's it. So if you have a bad day, oh well. We're constantly out and looking for talent.
So how many teams, what ages, when do they start playing? What's the season look like? I think that some of those are just
definitely
just the kind of logistics of it.
Sure. So our first season will start in the fall of this year, of 2024. So as Eddie was just talking about, we've got tryouts that'll be starting this spring. And once the rosters are established, they'll start training over the summer. And then in the fall, they'll start playing. Our first season of 24 to 25, meaning 2024 to 2025, we'll have two teams. U13 and U14 boys. The vision is certainly to expand the program, be able to continue to support this fully funded model for more and more and more ages and eventually genders as well. So,
wow. So those kids that are able to qualify to play at this high level, what are they doing now?
So I can answer
if you're
that
good
because
right now,
Eddie's had kids obviously go through soccer, and I have some that are currently in it. And, I see kids that they play with, and we have the talent here in the core. So to answer your question, what are they doing now? A lot of them are having to leave the core. They're having to go to Charlotte, to Virginia, Raleigh. There are families we know of that relocate to places like Florida and things to be able to have this access to this elite, the most elite level of youth soccer. So this is going to give us an opportunity to not only keep a lot of that talent here in the core, but we'll be bringing in talent from outside High Point as well, right? Because again, we're fully funded. And so that's a unique opportunity.
So we may have people, instead of relocating out of the core to go have their kid play somewhere else, we may have people locating here for that opportunity.
Oh, absolutely.
That's awesome.
It's a big sacrifice that families make to drive 2-3 times a week, 2 hours away. You're doing homework in the car, you're eating in the car, you're going to sleep in the car. Not to mention just we talk a lot about the finances and what that takes, but a lot of parents, even if they can't afford to even take off work early enough to get their kids to these practices. So there's so much that goes into it that adds up to the cost of this, right?
Wow. Yeah, because it's not just what the uniforms and travel and stuff. It's all the opportunity costs for parents.
Yeah, if you have to be at practice at 5:00, not everybody has a job where they can check out at 4:00 to get their kid where they need to go.
I'm curious, Eddie, from your experience going through this process, are there things that you learned from your own journey, challenges, obstacles, beyond just cost, that now as you're coming back to build this pipeline yourself, that you're like, we got to make sure we do this right and we do this right?
Yeah, I think the biggest is the pathway. And I also think understanding for kids have to understand that everybody's path is different. Meaning, as you're going along this pathway, you may not be the star right away, right? It may be when you're a little bit older. It may be because you haven't hit a growth spurt. Or it may be because you did hit a growth spurt and you were bigger and stronger than everyone, and now they caught you. So things change throughout the process. You fail a lot, right? But you can't give up. So you have to kind of pick yourself back up and you try again. But in general, that it's a long process. And you have to love doing it. You have to like it. It can't be something that, mom and dad are kind of forcing you to go do because there's no chance you'll last, right? So it's something that we have to make fun and enjoyable, because it will be very challenging.
When did you, at that point about mom and dad can't be the ones forcing you to do it, when did you feel that spark awaken in you? Like, do you remember how old you were where you were like, I'm doing this for me?
I don't remember the age, but I do remember always liking it. So I loved playing soccer. I always liked it. I was always kind of in my backyard just playing around. I would try to convince my friends to come play with me. So they'd say, well, we want to go play basketball. And I'd say, well, I'd force them. We'd play soccer with me for a little while. And they all hated soccer. So I think that's kind of when I just always liked it. Yeah. And I would always be out at night. And then one of the things I begged my parents to get me were floodlights on the backyard, so I could stay out later. So I think when you kind of see that in your kids and, that your mom's calling you in, your dad's calling you in to come eat or do homework and stuff like that, that's a good sign that you're probably enjoying it. And that could be anything, right? Someone may be playing basketball or baseball or violin or the piano or something like that.
I was going to say for students who are coming into the academy, what kind of, I guess, sounds cheesy, but like what kind of life skills, what kind of character development happens just from doing something with the discipline and the resilience like athletics and sports?
So this is something that our board is really, really passionate about, is the development of these young players, not only on the field, but also off the field, so that they can be successful and contribute to our community. So there will be emphasis on study skills and things of that nature, right? Like your school is important. You know, the truth of the matter is most people won't go on to be an Eddie, right? And so knowing that, you know, schooling is important and staying on top of that. There'll be a lot of talk about nutrition. Dr. Tony Bartolus is on our board, and he's really passionate about making sure kids understand the importance of eating right and sleeping and, you know, regular checkups and diagnosing things like asthma and things like that commonly go undiagnosed. There's a lot of emphasis both on the pro side and the academy side on being involved in the community and partnering with Boys and Girls Clubs and Salvation Army and giving back to the community. So to your point, I think that the skills that you learn on the field, you know, as someone who actually never played soccer but did play sports, right? Those are things that I find it's hard to recreate in other environments. And being part of a team and having co-accountability, and if I, you know, even if this is my position on the field, if I don't do the practice that I said, it affects the whole team. Showing up to practice on time. I mean, I think that, you know, you kids go to college and now, I mean, they're in charge of their life, right? And so having that discipline and organization and holistic development, I think will set them up for a lot of success.
I mean, kind of follow that as you think about the kids that come out of the academy. What do you want? I mean, I'm sure there are lots of different pathways they can follow, but in your mind, like, what does a success story look like for you, for someone who's come into the academy at the younger team, they've played for you for several years, and then they leave the academy? Like, what does success look like for y'all?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like as Leah said, not everyone's going to become a professional soccer player. For most kids that follow this pathway and they're in the academy and they see it through to 16, 17, by that point, they will probably be amongst the group of the best players in the country. There's no question. So, it creates the college opportunity, a full scholarship. A lot of them will probably be eligible to get a full scholarship from most colleges, most universities. And those universities know that. So one of the things that happens is the team goes and they play in showcases. So all over the country, which is, again, always an added expense. But at these showcases, they'll have scouts from all over Europe, but they'll also have scouts from every university you can think of, because they know not everyone's going to go on. And so they sort of wait for the fallout, and then they kind of have their, you know, depending on the school, they pick the player that they like. And with that will typically come a college scholarship. So to me, that is a massive opportunity that is also kind of sitting there waiting for kids that want to follow this path. So we have the professional pathway, but it is sort of a college pathway as well.
That's incredible. Think about how a no pay to play model that's trying to create equity in soccer ends up also creating equity in college admissions,
absolutely, and
graduation,
future outcomes of career and everything.
And the pressure of, we were saying with schoolwork, you know, that's a common theme. You don't want to get to the end and the only thing holding you back, right, are your academics. You've got everything else with this sort of crazy long stretch of a road, and you know your schoolwork's holding you back. So I think that most kids are realizing that in other markets. We see that. We see them going on to get full scholarships. That I would say that has been proven over the last 4 or 5 years, no question. So we know that it exists, but it does create a good kind of pressure for them to do well in school.
Absolutely.
I think another important part of the pathway that I think about as a business professional is the amount of folks that go through whatever extent of this pathway they go to, but they go on to have a career in soccer, right? So, yes, we have some amazing staff and people affiliated with the pro team, with the academy who did play for MLS and have played for the national team and things. But a lot of our staff are folks that played soccer in high school, played soccer in college, didn't ever go on to play pro, but now have lifelong careers in sports marketing and operations and sales. And I mean, so you're also opening up a tremendous amount of career pathways by exposing kids more and more to this high level of business, of the business of soccer.
Absolutely.
Wow. So you've mentioned the player pathway a couple of times. I've heard something about PTFC and CCFC. Again, I don't understand all the soccer stuff. So help me understand what's going on with the PTFC kind of youth soccer component and what you all are doing with CCFC Academy and the pro team.
Sure. So I'll just start by kind of re-explaining kind of how all the organizations are affiliated but separate, right? So you have the CCFC MLS Next Pro Team, separate but affiliated of that, and part of the Player Pathway is the 501(c) nonprofit academy, right? That is the two elite level youth teams.
Okay.
PTFC is
Piedmont Triad Football Club.
Yes, which Eddie alluded to earlier, right? That he played for that, or whatever it was called, not that long ago.
Not at all.
But PTFC is working with the pro team, CCFC, to develop what we'll call CCFC Youth.
Okay.
And so the idea there is it's not just, as we've been talking about with the academy, that elite level, but it's creating a further player pathway and opportunities for the wider community in the triad. Do you have more to add to that?
I do not. That's
So it's really kind of rebranding the PTFC brand.
That's a great way to say that.
Youth.
Yeah.
Correct. Which PTFC believes will create a lot of opportunities for their families, and again for the community, just to better the sport and reinforce, to bring more and more opportunity to more and more groups of folks in our community.
Well, that'll be exciting for the kids to have the fox, the pro team fox on their jersey, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure too, CCFC's games themselves, I think, are going to open up such a new audience of soccer lovers. I just can see so many kids who maybe didn't think about playing soccer before getting to go to a CCFC game, and then to be able to route them to CCFC Youth. That's going to be so fun and such an addition to the community to just have more opportunity.
Well, you think about how many dreams you're going to ignite that otherwise they may have felt like, well, I can't really dream that, right? There's no path there.
Yeah.
And one thing we want to be also very clear about is that the pathway isn't exclusive to any of the youth organizations we've spoken about. So, for example, our pro team isn't only going to take players that have gone through the elite level academy, right?
They're scouting all over for the pro team.
Exactly.
Right?
And same thing with the academy. Right. So it's not that
so
only.
So you could be playing Fusion, you could be playing in Charlotte or Raleigh. You might get
you could move here from Florida. You could, it creates that vision and that dream. Like I said, PTFC believes it'll bring a lot of excitement and opportunity for their organization, but it's not exclusive in any way either.
So when it comes to CCFC Youth or the CCFC Academy, is there any connection with some of the guys playing on the CCFC MLS Next Pro team? Is there going to be involvement from them in any way in mentoring and developing these younger players?
Yeah, we don't quite know exactly how yet, but there will always be some sort of connection from the bottom all the way up. We'll want kids to come and watch them practice and train. I think when they see it live for the first time, which is what we would want as an academy, we want the kids to see the faster pace. They want to see how big the guys are, how strong they are. You want them to really see that, to kind of live it and breathe it. I think it helps them, like I use the word ignite, right? The passion in them to then go home and practice what they saw someone else do during that training session. And then we want to be out in the community signing autographs for the kids and signing their shirts and their uniforms and getting them to know the players, know them on a first name basis, and things like that. So, and that is really common actually throughout Major League Soccer and MLS Next Pro. The players typically do have some involvement with, again, their academy teams, and some of them also are affiliated with what we call sort of regular soccer programs.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Excellent. So you've talked some about how the academy is going to be free to players, but it is obviously not free to the people trying to fund it. So how does the academy fund itself? Where's the money coming from? What do you need from the wider community? It seems like you're bringing these opportunities into our community, but what kind of obligation does our community have to help make this happen?
That's a great question. There's a lot of ways that our community can support this and open up this opportunity. So first and foremost is just spreading the word, right? Make sure that there's no child in our community that doesn't now know that this is an opportunity, right here in the core and in North Carolina, because it is unique. So folks aren't going to they're not just going to know that suddenly there's a fully funded academy. So spreading spreading the word is very important. We have an annual fundraising event called Cocktails and Cleats. I couldn't have been prouder how our first annual went over last year that we held here outside the factory. We had tremendous attendance. Everyone, the energy was so great. It was a tremendously successful fundraiser. I think it was supposed to end at 7:30, and we were all still hanging around till 9 o'clock. And we're talking soccer. I mean, it was really, really great. So attending that event and donating. We have donation links on our page. Every little on our website. Every little bit helps, right? Like we said. I mean, it's travel, it's shoes, it's equipment, it's coaching fees, it's tournament fees. So no donation is too small. The other way is, we have corporate sponsorship opportunities as well, right? So just like, the local youth organizations, right? There's lots of different ways that a business can utilize our platform to market, but know that they're ultimately supporting the Youth Academy as well, the vision of the Youth Academy. Is there anything else that you want to add to that?
No, I think that's important, because when people see the branding, to know that it's not all automatically funded, right? That we've got to, as a community, contribute to this if we want to keep this community resource here.
Right.
And so if you own a business and you're out there, I'm sure you can go to our show notes and you can get the website and you can reach out. I'm sure Chris Barretto would be happy to hear from you, talk to you about sponsorship opportunities. But I think that's important to know that these sorts of opportunities are funded by people in our community, and we need that support in order to continue to offer these opportunities to kids.
Yeah. I mean, when we think about, and I think you phrased it so well when you were talking about, this is actually going to keep and retain people to the Carolina core. It could actually bring transplants to the Carolina core. It's bettering our whole community. I mean, from both of your perspectives, in the next 5 to 10 years, what do you want this community to look like because of the CCFC Academy?
Well, for first, one of our measures of success, I think, will be to visibly see more diversity on the soccer field. Folks that aren't into soccer, such as yourself, Hannah, may not know that. I mean, there are pockets of Latino soccer leagues all throughout High Point, and they may be happening in the building down the road, and you don't realize it necessarily happens. There's a lot of thriving soccer communities that can't afford the typical pay-to-play model. So that will definitely be one measure of success. Will be, do we visibly see more diversity on the field? Others?
Yeah, I think, when you have that first story, the first really good story of someone who started at 12 or 13 and they went all the way through and became a professional, or they went all the way through and they got a full scholarship. And it was because of the academy and the community that helped fund the academy. Obviously, that's a big success story. And then maybe even when that individual graduates, stays here, and pays it forward again. I mean, I think that's probably
when we get our next Eddie Pope.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, I think that's exciting. That kind of full circle reality, I think you're working for, because you're instilling these values in players. And that's when I hear you all talk about the player pipeline, part of my brain is thinking soccer, but the other part, Eddie, is thinking about you, that it's more than soccer. It's about a commitment to a community, a commitment to kids, a commitment to opportunity for people that you're instilling that, is going to pay big dividends for our whole area.
Yeah,
well, again, just career opportunities as well. We talk again a lot about the player side, but there's so much opportunity on the professional side, right? So, as we grow the academy and add more and more age groups and girls as well, to have all these new opportunities for for people that may have grown up here playing soccer, have come back, and now they have their 9 to 5 and say, oh, wait, now I have an opportunity to have a profession that gives back and is my passion. So there's that side of it too.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Well, I think that we all have a lot more working knowledge of this. We will definitely share the graphic.
It's
Don't
kind of
quiz
like a
us after
spider
this,
web.
but I think we've learned a lot.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for being on here. I think that in the coming years, I just see High Point being such a soccer-focused city in the best way, and we really appreciate all that both of you are doing to bring your time and talents to this community.
Well, thanks for having us. Thanks for everything you do.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
It's a team effort.
Definitely. Go team.
Oh, that was a good conversation.
It really was.
I love it. And, since we had that conversation with them, they have done a couple of ID sessions to get players for the U13, U14 teams. They've had 150 kids have come out to try out for the teams from all over. I mean, Charlotte to Raleigh, Hickory, Asheboro, like all over the Carolina Corps footprint. So it's really exciting to see the energy and enthusiasm that these kids and their parents have for the opportunity to play for Eddie Pope.
I know. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you said that they've also named coaches, right? So,
yeah. JC Martinez with the U13 and Andy Williams with U14. I mean, this is incredible coaching talent.
Yeah.
It's just a remarkable opportunity for these kids.
Yeah, it's so exciting to me that High Point is going to have another huge thing that it's known for, right? That we're going to be able to say we're drawing people from all over the region because of the amazing talent that we have here, the coaching talent, and folks like Eddie Pope, who are world-renowned soccer players who are coming back to make sure that they're impacting the places they're from.
Well, and because of Leah and Eddie and their leadership, they also got a several $1 million state grant to turf Phillips Park. So they're going to add 2 turf fields, lights, fencing, all that out at Phillips, which will be remarkable. So they can play. When the fields get soggy, nobody gets to play. So really increase the ability of kids to be able to play out there and add again more amenities kind of the High Point landscape, bring more people in.
Yeah. I think what all of this is telling us is if you haven't gotten your tickets yet to see the first home game for CCFC, you got to get on it.
June 1st.
June 1st. It's coming.
Yep.
There will be a link in our show notes. You can also purchase tickets at the Stock and Grain.
Yeah. Join the Skulk.
Pop-up. Yep.
Which is a term that I learned.
What does that mean?
It's a group of foxes.
A skulk?
A skulk of foxes.
Okay.
So,
very educational.
Yeah, join the supporter section. Get crazy with the skulk.
That's awesome. Get crazy with the skulk. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today to learn a little bit more about the CCFC Academy. Thanks, Joe, for being here.
Yeah. Happy to do it.
As always, thank you to our technical producers at Captivate Media. We air episodes every third Tuesday, so make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow along.